G'day footy fans, it's Clarke here with episode 4 of the Ranking with Dane Clarke. In this episode we're going to take a closer look at the wingers, counting down 16 to 1 and giving my little spiel and a bit of thoughts on why I've made each selection as we go. If you haven't seen the first 3 episodes to this series, we've already covered off on fullback, hooker and halves, so if you do want to watch them, just head over to my previous videos. If you enjoy this one, I'm sure you'll enjoy them. Now, they all go for about 15 to 20 minutes, so it is perfect to put some headphones in, have a listen while you cook dinner, mow the lawn, whatever. Realistically, there's no need to actually physically watch this video. All I'll do is put around, about here. That's where I'll just put up a photo of the players I'm talking about realistically, and in the other corner I'll count down. So I hope you guys enjoy. That being said, let's crack on with it and get into episode 4. Number 16, I'm going to start this off with the Manly Sea Eagles. Now, I do feel they have a bit of depth there, but I don't believe there is genuine top quality talent there. The only certainty I would have there is George Tafua with a starting spot. Apart from that, they do have the option of Brad Parker, who has been quite underwhelming during his NRL time. They've also got the option of Brendan Elliott, who's a bit of a journeyman at this stage in his career, and he's never really been able to lock down a consistent NRL spot. However, they do have a bit of X factor with Albert Hopewadi. This kid is very good. He's been very impressive coming through the grades. He is a fullback, but we know he will not be able to take that position off Tom Trbojevic, so he may have to settle for the wing and potentially move to the fullback later in his career, just like Tom did. So, given those reasons, I've ranked the Manly Sea Eagles at spot 16 on this list. Number 15, I've gone with the Cronulla Sharks. This seems to be an area where the Sharkies look to be a little bit lacking in 2019. So we have a look. Sasai Feki, I would almost guarantee he has his spot for 2019. He's been fairly consistent, although they were rumoured to be shopping him around to the Bulldogs in 2018. That fell through. Of course, the Bulldogs have now signed Christian Crichton, so we can rule that rumour out altogether of it potentially occurring again. Now, Aaron Gray is another option for them, although I do find Gray has, ever since he left the Rabbitohs, he's never really been able to lock down another consistent spot at the Sharkies, and he has struggled. The other man I'm really excited to see in 2019 is Sione Katoa. Now, we didn't get to see much of him because unfortunately he was injured in, I believe, his NRL debut last year for the Sharks, but he did have a very great season for the Newtown Jets. If I'm Shane Flanagan, I'm going with Sione Katoa and Sasai Feki for my wing combination. But as I said before, the Sharks have a pretty strong team. This is probably one of their weaker positions with not as much depth as they have in other areas. So for that reason, I've got the Sharkies at number 15. On to number 14 now, and I've got the St. George Illawarra Dragons. Now, this is a team that lost both of their starting wingers in the off-season. Obviously, Jason Nightingale has retired, and Nene McDonald's gone north to the North Queensland Cowboys. So we can almost guarantee Jordan Pereira will retain his spot on the wing, given he has just that little bit of NRL experience, which is going to be vital. Now, a bit of a shock could be Kurt Mann playing wing permanently for them as well. I don't think Mary McGregor would go down that path because he is better suited to utility, but that's another option. Another 2 options that we have for the Dragons is Jonas Pearson, who I believe never got a fair shot at the Broncos. This guy is very talented, and I believe he will take the other wing spot. I believe he'll take it with 2 hands, and he'll announce himself as a genuine NRL winger in 2019. Now, another shock inclusion could be Tristan Saylor. Now, you're hearing the last name now and you're going, oh, Saylor? Of course, it is Wendell Saylor's son, and he's very talented. He's not just living off his dad's name. He's included in their top 30, and he's a genuine chance to soak up a wing spot for the Dragons in 2019. But for the reasons I said before, I've had to include them low on this list at number 14. On to number 13, guys, and now the people I'm about to mention here are all very young and have a lot of upside to their career, so it is quite likely they will end up higher on this list if the Bulldogs have a good season. So the 2 men I'd be sticking with Dean Pay is Remy Smith. I believe he had he scored a hat-trick last year. He showed he's got a lot of speed out there on the wing, and then of course Christian Crichton from the Penrith Panthers, who filled in when Josh Mansell was obviously injured for a large portion of 2018. And again, he had a great season. He's a Samoan international winger. Other options available to them are obviously John Olive, who can play a bit of centre and wing, and Marcelo Montoya. Now, he was dropped in 2018, so I believe it's unlikely Dean Pay would go back, but he does have those options in depth. In saying that, we haven't seen enough NRL out of Christian Crichton or out of Remy Smith to rank them any higher on this list at this stage. So for that reason, I've got the Canterbury Bulldogs at number 13. Number 12, and I've gone with the Newcastle Knights here. Now, I believe their combination of wingers will be Nathan Ross and Sean Kenny-Dow. However, a lot of people are saying to me Edrickley over Ross. I can understand where they're coming from there, but we have to remember Rossi was injured for a fair bit of 2018 and wasn't able to play his best footy. He's had a whole preseason now to get over those injuries and return to his best. And in a Knights side that was struggling for many years, we saw what Rossi's capable of. A very dynamic finisher, not afraid to come in early and offer a good hit up. So the Knights do have a few options here that they can play with, but yeah, not massively talented wingers. Very capable of doing the job and definitely NRL standard. But as I go on this list, you'll see the sort of quality and the talent sort of just climbs a little bit each time. And I think you'll agree as the list goes on that having the Newcastle Knights at number 12 was the correct place to have them. Number 11, I've chosen to go with the West Tigers. Now, I believe their wing combination will be Corey Thompson and David Norfoluma. Both of these men are obviously very experienced with the NRL and very capable of doing the job. You know, they're not the most exceptional, the most dynamic, or the fastest wingers in our game, but you can definitely count on one hand the amount of bad games they'll have for you in 1 year. Very consistent performers. Not quite at the elite level of NRL wingers in our game, in my opinion. So yeah, that's why I've got the West Tigers at number 11 on this list. Number 10, and we go to my team, the Gold Coast Titans. Now, I believe we should persist with the combination of Anthony Don and Philip Sammy in 2019. Neither set a foot wrong in 2018. Philip Sammy was dynamic out wide and provided a bit of X factor for us. Look at that moment when he put he Tuivasa-Sheck, as Andrew Voss said in commentary. And Don is just Mr. Consistent. You know what you're going to get week in, week out with that bloke. That being said, we do have a couple of other options available to us. One of those would be to shift Copley to the wing, and that's also likely given our centre position is very heavily contested this year. Another one would be to return Michael Gordon on the wing. Now, this may occur and be more likely than we realise, as Michael Gordon is an exceptional goal kicker. If he's not in our top 17, then the kicking goes back to Ash Taylor, who kicks around 70%, which is quite low for NRL standard. So Gordon is a bit of a smoky to potentially play on the wing. That being said, I would like to see us persist with Don and Sammy, as I previously said. For the reasons I spoke about, I've had to put the Titans at number 10 on this list. Number 9, and I've gone with the Parramatta Eels. Now, this is the highest the Eels have ranked on any of my previous lists so far, and with due reason. Look, Blake Ferguson is essentially what the Eels were missing in 2018. When Semi Radradra left, they didn't have that large winger to come in and take the early hit-ups and make meters, essentially. Who makes meters? Blake Ferguson. Who led the NRL last year for meters made and runs made? Blake Ferguson. He's the perfect replacement for Semi Radradra, and I believe the Eels should probably partner him with either George Jennings or Bevan French. Now, George Jennings would offer a bit more consistency and probably a slightly better combination, as he'd be outside his older brother Michael Jennings. But Bevan French just has that little bit of X factor about him. And I know he didn't have his best year in 2018. We didn't see his best, but what about that try saver on Tedesco? I'm sure you guys remember that moment. He ran him down, wrapped up the ball, miraculous, and that's the sort of X factor we're talking about with Bevan French. Another option to the Eels, and I don't think they'll pursue this one, but they do have the option of playing veteran Josh Hoffman on the wing also. So the Eels wingers, they do have a lot of potential in 2019, but as a whole, that team has a lot of progression to do before I can rank them any higher on the ranking reports. So for that reason, I've got the Parramatta Eels, the highest they've been so far, and number 9 on this list. Okay guys, now we're into the top 8 of this list, and to kick us off, I'm starting number 8, South Sydney Rabbitohs. Now I believe the Rabbitohs should stick with Campbell Graham and Robert Jennings as their wing combination in 2019. I believe Robert Jennings was second for tries in the NRL last year behind David Fusatua, and Campbell Graham was very impressive for still someone very fresh and new into his career. Obviously, other options they have available to them is Braden Burns and Richard Kenner, both young players who haven't had too much taste of an NRL yet, but are very valuable depth. Now, Robert Jennings, I know, is not officially re-signed with the Rabbitohs yet, and from what I understand and from what I know, John Sutton did not get re-signed for the money he originally asked. That's why there was the big hold-up. That's why him and Jennings were not named in their top 30. Now, Jennings arrived at preseason training today, at the day of me recording this, but he doesn't have an official contract yet. So he is committed to the club. I believe the club has verbally told him, you will be getting this much. We just need to sort out the cap, and then we'll make it official. So for the reasons previous before what I just said then, I've put the South Sydney Rabbitohs at number 8 on this list. Number 7, I've gone with the Brisbane Broncos. So at the time of me recording this, Corey Oates has still not officially re-signed with the club. Bennett has just departed the club, so there's a huge question mark as to whether Oates will remain a Bronco. So we have to go with the information that's available to us, and that is Jordan Kahu and Jermaine Osako. Now, of course, Osako was the reigning Rookie of the Year, and Jordan Kahu is a very, very experienced, very dynamic, good finisher, and overall solid winger for the Brisbane Broncos. So we look, and they don't have the greatest depth here. If Oates re-signs, then obviously they would be a lot higher on this list. But from what we know now, who is actually officially signed, we have to go by that information. And for that reason, the Brisbane Broncos land themselves on number 7 on this list. Number 6, the Sydney Roosters. Now, for my picks on the wing, I would go with Brett Morris and Daniel Tupou. The reason I would put Brett Morris in the side over Ryan Hall, an English international, probably the best winger over there, maybe second to Tommy Matkinson, is simply when James Tedesco plays Origin this year, Brett Morris is the likely replacement for fullback. So it makes sense to have him in and around the team, building those combinations throughout the year. Now, again, you're probably saying, okay, Tupou over Ryan Hall. Why? Now, Tupou has established a very good connection, a very good link with Latrell Mitchell. So why break up that combination is my way of thinking. But at the same time, you have to think. Ryan Hall didn't come all the way over from England after doing his ACL to play reserve grade. So the Roosters have a battle on their hands, and for that reason, I've got them at number 6 on this list. Number 6, the North Queensland Cowboys. Now, the combination I would suggest here would be Gideon Gallum-Osby on one wing, and that's quite obvious. It's for his X factor, it's for his speed, it's for his finishing ability. There's not many people that have that natural, dynamic, athletic abilities that he's gifted with. Now, for the other wing, I would persist with Kyle Felt there. Now, with Valentine Holmes departing for the NFL, that means a Queensland Maroons origin wing spot is up for grabs. Likely replacements you would think would be Corey Oates and Kyle Felt, who's been very close in recent times. Now, you're thinking now, where does that leave Nene McDonald? Now, what I would do, I would play Nene McDonald in the centre inside of Kyle Felt. And I know McDonald is probably a bit more suited to the wing because he's a dynamic finisher. But I think you'll get more value out of that wing and centre combination when Michael Morgan persists with the aerial attack. We've both seen him under the high ball. We've both seen how great they are under the high ball. Imagine a big bomb going up out to that side, and now you've got not only Kyle Felt or Nene McDonald going up for it as the opposition. You've got two men that you know are going to outjump you, you know are probably more athletic than you, and importantly, you know they're probably better than you under the high ball. The options are there for the tap back, catch, pass. There's a lot of options available, and I think that side would thrive with Michael Morgan continuous aerial attacks. So, for that reason, I've got the Cowboys at number 5 on this list. Number 4, the Canberra Raiders now. I know Jordan Rapana is not slated to return until round 13, but he will be there in 2019, and for that reason, we've got to include the Raiders high up on this list. Between Jordan Rapana and Nick Kotrick, they have two genuine superstar wingers. Kotrick, I believe, will become a fullback. I believe later in his career he will make the move permanently to fullback. He's just got a little bit too much. He reminds me a lot of Tedesco with the ball. He's got agility, speed, change of direction, and that's sort of wasted next to one sideline where at fullback returning the ball all game. I'm sure he'll spot a lot more opportunities. Rapana, what can I say about him? One of the best finishers in the game. Factor in the Raiders do have a bit of depth here. They have the option of also putting Brad Abbey there, who is primarily a fullback, but he did play a bit of wing last year. And also Michael Oldfield, who is my prediction to fill in for Rapana for the first 13 rounds. Oldfield is very powerful out there, very strong winger, and can also play a bit of centre. So for those reasons, I've got the Canberra Raiders at number 4 on this list. Number 3, we go across the ditch to the New Zealand Warriors. Now, I believe the Warriors will persist with the same combination as last year with Ken Mamalo and David Fusatua. Realistically, it just makes sense. Both are representative players. Fusatua is just, well, what can I say? He's the leading try scorer, and some of the things he did last year were spectacular. Superb finisher. Mamalo is a larger body, and that allows him to get in and take the early hit-ups for the Warriors and give their big forward pack a rest, so he is invaluable for them. Add in a bit of depth, they've also got Chance Nickel Klokstad, and he's also a superb finisher, a very good winger, crafting his trade in reserve grade, but I believe if not this year, next year he'll be NRL ready. So for those reasons, I've got the New Zealand Warriors at number 3 on this list. Number 2, the Penrith Panthers. Now, one wing will most likely be occupied by the New Zealand Kiwis captain Dallin Watene-Zelezniak, and the other Josh Mansour, an Australian representative player. Now, both incredible, really. Both 2 top elite level players in the NRL. And now let's factor in and have a look at some of the depth there. Also got Malachi Watene-Zelezniak, who is a genuine first grader, or maybe could be considered a fringe first grader. But regardless, he can do the job for you on the wing, and he can do it week in, week out. He had a lot of game time for the Tigers in 2018. Now, they've also got Tyrone Phillips, who did play a little bit in 2018. Christian Crichton was probably the better of the two when they filled in for DWZ and Mansour, but Phillips still held his own, and they've got some great depth on the wing, as well as, like I said before, 2 genuine elite superstars. So for that reason, they found themselves at number 2 on this list. Number 1 on this list, the 2 most electrifying wingers I can remember in modern time, the Fox, Josh Adokar and Suliasu Vunivalu, an incredible finisher, superb under the high ball. Josh Adokar, probably one of the fastest men in our game. What about his try against the Warriors? I believe it was the Anzac Day match, where he stepped 1, he stepped 2, he raced away and beat about 6 or 7, 8 defenders. And a factor in, they do have a bit of depth around that position with Justin Olam, also a very capable first grader. As we know, the Melbourne Storm are so clinical and so professional about their approach under Craig Bellamy that realistically, I could probably play on the wing for him and they'd still get a win. Okay, maybe not, but for the reasons I've said, the Fox, Vunivalu, just their names alone, that's found them at number 1 on this list. The outro is always the hardest thing to record. Like, I literally go through and record anytime I'm talking about footy, it just comes so natural. I get it all in one take, maybe 2 tops if I sit there and if or are a little bit too much and I don't like it. But I swear the outro, it takes me like 2 or 3 goes. I don't know what to bloody say. But as always, guys, let me know on Facebook, Instagram, down below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? What changes would you make? And I'll get back to you. Always try my best to get back to you guys. I'm going to continue on recording tonight and do the centres after this. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Give me a big thumbs up. Oh, just get a little spit. Big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And look forward to talking to you guys about footy. Oh, stutter again. Oh my God, I'm just going to end it now. Thank you very much for being here. No, I'm going to have to redo this, aren't I? No, I can't be bothered. This one's going to stay. I'll take your eyes to see the moon. Take your body to the